Welcome back to our channel. Today is a beautiful day to talk about the absolute earthquake that just hit our city. The ground just dropped out from under Port Charles, leaving us staring into an abyss of shattered legacies and impossible choices. A single WSB search just rewrote decades of history, and the fallout is going to be biblical. Let's dive into the madness. I am literally shaking right now. I am typing this up at 2 a.m. because I cannot sleep, I cannot process, and I cannot believe they actually did that. I mean, we all knew something was incredibly off with this whole Jasper Jax Enterprises CEO storyline. We knew Hudson Parker was bad news the second he smirked his way into. But this is next level, top tier soap opera drama. Am I the only one who is completely losing their mind over this reveal? I have been watching this show religiously since 2015, and I have seen secret twins, back from the dead mobsters, and crazy WSB plots. But this one actually made me gasp out loud at my television screen. I just need to vent, because my brain is going a million miles a minute trying to piece together what this means for everyone involved. So, if you haven't watched the latest episode yet, turn back now, because we are getting into massive, show-altering spoiler territory. Okay, let's just rip the band-aid right off. Hudson Parker is Jocelyn's brother, her half-brother. I know some people are loving this twist, but personally, I'm still picking my jaw up off the floor. We all thought Hudson was just some slick, shady corporate raider sent to mess with JJE, maybe a proxy for some rival company, or even tied to the whole Delilah Wilson baby drama with Ethan that Ava has been sweating over. But no, he is Jasper Jax's son. Let that sink in for a minute. Jax, the suave Australian billionaire, the man who treated Jocelyn like she was the absolute center of the universe, the only heir to his massive fortune. He had a secret son this entire time. And not just a son, but a son who is now actively trying to steal Jocelyn's birthright right out from under her. I am so overwhelmed by the sheer audacity of this writing choice. Let's break down that scene where Jocelyn actually finds out, because the tension was absolutely suffocating and directed so perfect. Jocelyn is trying to be this badass WSB agent, right? She is using her high-level security clearance she barely secured after all the Spoon Island drama with Cullum and Z to run a deep background check on Hudson because she wants to know exactly who she is dealing with before she officially takes over as CEO of JJE. She is sitting there at her computer in the dimly lit WSB office, the blue light reflecting off her face, looking all determined, fierce, and ready to uncover some corporate embezzlement or shady shell company. She types in his details, bypassing firewalls like it's nothing, and then the genetic database results pop up on the screen. The system flags a familial anomaly, a 50% DNA match to Jasper Jax. The way her face just completely fell, her eyes widened, her breath hitched, and her hand literally hovered over the mouse like it had burned her. I felt that in my soul. You could literally see her entire worldview shattering in real time, because up until that exact second, she was the golden child. She was Jax's one and only biological daughter. The absolute silence in that room was deafening. She has spent her entire life believing she was the sole inheritor of the Jax legacy, the apple of her father's eye. Finding out that she shares that bloodline with a ruthless stranger who just blew into town is a psychological blow I don't think she was prepared for. And honestly, can we talk about how incredibly reckless Jocelyn is being right now? She is using classified WSB resources for a personal corporate background check. I mean, Jack Brennan is already breathing down her neck, pumping the brakes on her field assignments and watching her every move, and here she is, running unauthorized DNA searches on rival business. But I guess we have to forgive her because the payoff was this massive bombshell. But wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about the fact that Jocelyn is keeping this a total secret from Carly. I cannot even with this decision. Carly is going to absolutely detonate when she finds out. Why on earth is Jocelyn hiding this from her mother? I get it. Carly is currently drowning in her own chaotic mess with Sunny's mob exit, the lingering threats from Jen Sidwell, and her complicated, highly secretive romance with Valentine. Jocelyn probably thinks she is protecting Carly from more stress, playing the role of the mature adult who can handle her own corporate battle. But come on, Joss. Carly is the one person on this entire planet who knows exactly how to handle a secret family member coming out of the woodwork to steal an empire. Carly would have Hudson neutralized, packed up, and shipped back to the Outback by Tuesday afternoon. She would unleash the full power of the Corinthos Spencer wrath on this guy without batting an eye. But no, Jocelyn wants to handle this herself. She wants to verify Hudson's true motives, trace his every step in Port Charles, before she drops this nuclear bomb on her mother's lap. It is such a classic Jocelyn move, trying to prove she is an independent adult who doesn't need mommy to fight her battles, But we all know this is going to blow up in her face in the most spectacular, devastating way possible. When Carly finds out that Jocelyn has been fighting her own secret brother alone, the screaming match is going to be legendary. Okay, back to the point. The confrontation at the Metro Court. This scene was everything. I have watched it 3 times already. Jocelyn marches into the Metro Court, and you can just tell she is vibrating with a mix of rage, betrayal, and sheer panic. Hudson is sitting there, looking all smug and perfectly tailored, sipping his drink like he owns the place. Which, ironically, he kinda thinks he does now. Jocelyn doesn't even hesitate. She slams the metaphorical cards on the table and directly confronts him with the WSB database evidence. She demands to know who he is, why he shares her father's DNA, and what his actual endgame is in Port Charles. And Hudson? He doesn't even flinch. He doesn't deny it. He doesn't try to spin some lie or play dumb. He just looks at her with this cold, calculating stare that is so incredibly Jax-like it gave me chills. And then he pulls out the photos. Oh my god. The photos. The props department deserves an award. Hudson slowly, deliberately slides these old, faded, slightly yellowed photographs across the polished table of the Metro Court, and they are pictures of Jack. Young, carefree, deeply tanned Australian playboy Jax, looking incredibly happy and deeply in love with some beautiful woman we have never seen before. Hudson explains, his voice devoid of any warmth, that this was his mother, and this was a secret, passionate relationship Jax had in Australia years before he ever met Carly, years before Brenda Barrett, years before Jocelyn was even a thought in anyone's mind. The history here is just so rich and deeply rooted in the show's lore. Remember when they tried this kind of secret child plot with other characters and it felt so forced? Yeah, didn't work then either. But this feels completely different, because Jax has always had that mysterious, jet-setting, billionaire past. It totally tracks that he left a trail of broken hearts and apparently a secret, vengeful heir in his wake across the globe. Jax was a swashbuckling corporate raider long before he settled down to be a family man in Port Charles. Hudson is the physical embodiment of the past Jax tried to leave behind. Hudson's monologue was chilling. He tells Jocelyn that he didn't just come to Port Charles for a job. He didn't come here to play corporate games, act as a placeholder, or just collect a paycheck. He came to claim his rightful place in the Jax family. He wants Jasper Jax Enterprises, and he firmly believes it belongs to him just as much as, if not more than, it belongs to Jocelyn. The sheer entitlement, but at the same time, is he wrong? I mean, I hate the guy right now because I love Jocelyn, but from his perspective, he is the firstborn son who was abandoned and erased from the legacy. He grew up watching from afar while Jocelyn got the private jets, the billions, the elite education, and the doting father. You can feel the decades of resentment pouring out of him with every word he. The dynamic between them shifted so violently in that one conversation. They went from being these snarky business rivals, throwing corporate jargon at each other over the JJE CEO spot, to deeply personal, blood feud enemies. Hudson looks at Jocelyn not just as an obstacle to the CEO chair, but as the living embodiment of everything he was denied. And Jocelyn looks at Hudson as a living, breathing betrayal by the father she idolized. I am so here for the sibling rivalry. It has given me classic soap opera vibes, like the old school corporate wars we used to get back in the day, when ELQ and Cassadine Industries were constantly at each other's throats. Let's talk about Jocelyn's emotional state right now, because my heart actually breaks. She is feeling so profoundly betrayed by Jack. Her father has been missing, unreachable on his sailboat, leaving her to deal with Carly's drama, the WSB chaos, and the immense pressure of stepping up at JJE. She thought Jax was her rock, the one parent who didn't have a dark, mob-tied, secret-filled life like Sonny or Carly. She idolized Jax's relatively clean corporate image. And now she realizes that her entire family foundation is built on a massive lie. Jax kept the son hidden from her. Did Jax even know about Hudson? Hudson's tone implies Jax might have, or at least that the abandonment was deliberate. If Jax knew he had a son in Australia and never told Jocelyn, never tried to bring him into the fold, I don't think Jocelyn will ever be able to forgive him. The psychological damage of realizing your perfect father is a fraud is going to change your character forever. She is going to become so much harder, so much more cynical after this. And it is not just the profound emotional betrayal, it is the practical, terrifying reality of what Hudson is threatening to do to her life. Hudson made it crystal clear with that icy glare. He is not leaving Port Charles until he takes over JJE. He wants the whole empire, every single share, every single board seat. And the worst part? He leaned in and told Jocelyn he does not care if his hostile takeover completely destroys her budding career with the WSB. He knows she is playing a highly dangerous game, balancing the corporate world of JJE and the clandestine spy agency, and he is fully prepared to use that conflict of interest against her. He is holding her WSB status over her head like a guillotine, ready to drop the blade if she doesn't surrender the company. He is basically telling her she has to choose between her father's legacy and her own chosen path. It is psychological warfare at its finest. He knows exactly where her vulnerabilities lie, and he is pressing on every single bruise. Am I the only one who thinks Hudson might actually win this war? I mean, Jocelyn is tough. She has that Spencer Corinthos grit, but she is spread so thin right now. She is recovering from the Spoon Island shootout. She is dealing with Brennan's constant roadblocks at the WSB. She is hiding things from Carly, and now she has to fight a ruthless corporate raider who shares her DNA. Hudson has been preparing for this his entire life. He knows the business, he knows Jax's history, and he has zero emotional attachments to anyone in Port Charles. He is a shark swimming in a tank full of distracted fish. Sometimes I contradict myself because I'm just so emotional figuring this out as I type. Like, 1 minute I want Jocelyn to absolutely crush him, use her WSB training, and send him packing back to whatever dark corner of Australia he crawled out of. I want her to embrace her inner Carly, team up with Michael and his corporate ruthlessness, and dismantle Hudson's life piece by piece. But then, the next minute, I kinda want to see Hudson stick around. I kinda want to see what a dark-scorned, highly intelligent Jax heir looks like operating in Port Charles. Imagine the sheer damage he could do to the established family. Imagine the incredible, emotionally charged scenes when Jax finally returns from his sailboat and has to face both of his children in the same room. It would be Emmy-winning material, I swear. The angst, the yelling, the tears, I want it all. But we have to talk about the WSB angle again, because that is the massive wild card. Jocelyn used WSB tech to find this out. If Brennan discovers she is using agency resources for family drama, he will end her career before it even really begins. And Hudson knows this. He is essentially blackmailing his own sister. He is telling her to step aside, hand over the keys to JJE, or he will blow her life apart. It is so cold. It is so calculated. It is exactly what a villain should be. I just keep picturing Carly's face when the secret inevitably explodes. Because it will explode. Secrets in Port Charles have a shelf life of about 3 weeks top. Jocelyn cannot hide a secret brother who is launching a hostile takeover of her father's company forever. Carly is going to lose her absolute mind. She already hates that Jax pushed Jocelyn toward the CEO role to begin with, and now she is going to find out Jax left a ticking time bomb named Hudson to destroy her daughter. The screaming match between Carly and an absent Jax is going to echo across the harbor. So where do we go from here? Jocelyn is backed into a corner. Can't go to her mom. She can't go to her boss at the WSB. And her dad is MIA. She is going to have to fight her own brother in the boardroom and the shadows. This is the ultimate test for Jocelyn Jax. Is she going to fold under the pressure, or is she going to rise up and prove that she is the true heir to Jasper Jax Enterprise? I am dreading the pain she is going to go through, but I am so undeniably here for the drama. This show has its hooks in me deep, and I am not going anywhere. Will Jocelyn destroy her own brother to save JJE, or will Hudson's revenge burn the Jax legacy to ash? Drop your wildest theories in the comments below, and hit that subscribe button.